TomaraDawn, Chapter 4. As normal, the ship pulls out of FTL space. Unlike normal, they see a like homeworld planet. Their scanners show structures, complex structures. The probe they send returns images of beautiful structures made of material harder than stone, yet no signs of life, such as fires and above-ground roadways connecting these elaborate stone cities, are devoid of all traffic, for they are barren and void. Grass and vines grow up around the pillars at the bottom, almost like they're trying to reach up to the heavens themselves. The trees don't even touch the bottom of these roads, and not one of these roads is broken, for they're intact, yet silent and ghostly quiet. What happened here? If the harvesters got them, there wouldn't be any plants left, and all the minerals and good resources would be stripped. The planet would look like a barren wasteland. They set course for the planet and allow months to drift by. Max finally receives a call as they are pulling into orbit around the planet. Just as he emerges from the elevator, something slams into the ship and he is sent hurtling across the room. He smacks into the wall and the world goes black. As he comes to, he hears the ship's computer repeating the message. The organic technology that you have borrowed will bring shame and false blame to your race. Discontinue use. The message repeats over and over again. Max can see the message's intended target. It's homeworld. Max looks accusingly at the man in charge of the radio system, but he has a blank and puzzled look upon his face. He hollers to the engineering staff for a damage report. That's when the horrific news comes in. Some kind of impact occurred at deck G, F, and E, and barreled straight through the organic drive, ending at deck D, C, and B on the other side, but did not quite exit their armor plating. What? Max says. That's impossible! Where? What? Why didn't we detect any weapons? I do not know, says the priest, their face just as puzzled as Max. How many crew members do we have left? He asks quickly. Someone reports, Sir, we've lost over a third of the crew, sir. A third? Max asks. Yes, due to the explosive decompression, it looks like it sucked the crew through sharp metal fragments, resulting in a meat grinder-like effect. As internal cameras switch on, showing what all happened, Max wants to be sick. Pieces of people he has known and talked to are now skewered and shredded upon tattered pieces of metal. The rest of the ship was saved from complete decompression thanks to compartmentalization. As one section was shut off from the other, it turns out the elevator that Max was on, the bottom half, is gone. If he had been in there a minute longer, he too would have been sucked into space with the rest. Sometimes Max thought himself invincible, but that feeling is now gone for good. He now realizes how vulnerable he is and how lucky he is to be alive. How lucky they all are to be alive. That still leaves the burning question. Who sent the transmission? He asks the communication officer to stop the transmission. The officer states, The comm system has been disconnected due to the impact. He cannot seem to stop, nor can he gain control of the comm system. All sudden, as if like in a dream, a man walks through the hall of the ship. He has this glow surrounding him as he stands before Max and says to Max, Your people should not have borrowed banned technology from one of the most feared races in the galaxy. This man speaks, but not with words. His voice, no, his thoughts, penetrate right to the very bone, to the very soul, with the understanding communicated across clearly. This is a god. He feels this person's powerful presence described just the way his ancestors had depicted it. He begins to get down on all fours to bow, but before he could even do so, the rest of the crew is already bowed down and saying praise. Next, Max has a dark thought. Did the gods do this to his ship? Before his thought can carry much further, it is answered. No, we did not. The being then begins to explain that their organic FTL drive leaves a very unique signature that is feared by many races throughout the galaxy, and this planet system was built by one of those races that feared these organic harvesters like there's no tomorrow. They built this planet's infrastructure in secret using robots. They put a defense system around this planet that should have been nearly impenetrable to the harvesters, but that was thousands upon thousands of years ago. The same power source that once powered these ancient cities also powered these once powerful satellites is nearly depleted. One of these weapon platforms had just enough power to fire its weapons, but if that weapon had been fired at its full power, the ship wouldn't be here. You see, Max, that weapon only fired at less than 2% of its maximum capacity. It's a particle beam of sorts, designed to inject antimatter into the particle beam. The antimatter alone should have been enough to tear the ship into oblivion, but thankfully over the centuries the antimatter was cannibalized by internal power cells. The only power that remained was a tiny amount stored within the capacitors. Max: but capacitors can only hold power for a short time. The being: you see, these capacitors are a little different and can hold power for a millennium or more. But that's not the issue. When we found your ship, all your crew is either dead or dying. Dead? Max says. We seem perfectly alive. The being then points to where Max had impacted on the opposite wall. Max looks at the impact site and realizes no human should have been able to survive that. Exactly. The being says, you did not survive it. Your ribs were crushed, your skull was fractured, and you were dying. Max checks himself over. Everything seems in place. How? Max wonders. We have our ways, but there are limits. There were those who we could not save. Max asks, what's going to become of us? With no FTL drive, we can't go home. Will you help us? I'm sorry, Max, we can't take you home. There is really no way. Why not? Max says. You guys have all kinds of power and abilities. You are the gods after all. The being responds, gods? Not exactly. Power? We have. Yes, but the impact it would have on your culture would be beyond detrimental, for you have learned about our existence, and we had hoped not to reveal it again. For a long time ago, we revealed our existence, and it caused a major impact upon your culture, albeit mostly positive, but still an impact nonetheless. We do not believe it's right to influence a culture's birth into starhood. Yes, you made it to the stars. Yes, you made it this far using FTL drives, but those FTL drives are not yours. And worse still, if you continue to use those FTL drives, you will attract the attention of some powerful spacefaring creatures. They will send a vessel to your star system that'll fly to your sun and turn it into a supernova. They will not even check to see if you've succumbed to the harvesters or not. Do you understand, Max? Your world must quit using these organic FTL drives. Your people must destroy them and never use them again. For like it or not, using the drives will call others to your system, or worse yet, they will call the harvesters themselves. Although we left those ships in a dead state, in such a state that they would have been very hard to reactivate, but it looks like your people found a way. The way you reactivated it, herein lies the problem. For the FTL drive is part of the harvester's brain. It was fully aware and fully conscious and fully seeking others. Max, do you understand what would happen if it found the others? Max states, we would have been destroyed. Not just that, but your homeworld would have been destroyed as well, for they would have gathered the memory from your ship's core, and they would have known exactly where to go. Worse still, we have some cleanup to do. That planet you visited with your organic ship, well, they exchanged memories with your ship's organic core, and it will know exactly where Earth is. All it takes is another organic ship to enter the system, and it too will know where Earth is, so we must take care of that problem. Wait, Max says. Can you tell me more? The alien looks at Max and says, as I speak, that problem is already being taken care of. I should say, you see, Max, the me are a we, and not so much an I. Max looks confused. What do you mean? Well, let's put it this way. We share a collective, yet retain our individuality, so we're both an individual and a collective. Max then asks, are there only a few of you? The being then says, there are many, many, many of us. For now, we must get your crippled ship to the surface. We've already dug a place for your ship to fit, not far from one of those cities, so you will have access to the cities. We will also make sure you have access to your shuttle bays, so you can use your shuttles to fly around the planet and learn more. Not only that, to help you out, we've gathered some resources and reactivated the power supplies in all the cities. They should be good for the next few thousand years. As well, we'll reactivate the defense systems around this planet, so if the harvesters do come, you will not have to think or worry about it, for the automatic defense systems will take care of it. Max asks, who built this planet? The being says, it's not really important, for they have long since forgotten about it, and those that did know about it have long since died. This was supposed to be their safe haven from the harvesters, but now it's yours. Mine? Max says. Well, your people's, but before we put you planetside, I need you to gather your surviving crew and prepare a message to send home. But do not mention in your message that you've met us. You must clearly state the dangers of the organic drive and the fact that you cannot return home. Max says, it'll take years and years before they can receive such messages. I'll be long since dead, and perhaps so will they. No, we'll do this as a favor for you. We'll make sure that they get it within the next year or so. A year? Max says. Yes, we'll relay the message within a light year of your home system. Wow, Max thinks. You could just take us home. Sorry, Max, but your culture does not allow us to. What do you mean? Max says. We are allowed to help, but not allowed to directly interfere in non-stellar cultures, unless it's to prevent extinction. Max, you interfered once when you named my great-great-great-grandmother Earthchild. Max sees something that startles him. The being smiles. Yes, we did, didn't we? I will tell you more about that in a bit. But right now we need to bring your ship down. The being seems to walk through the armor plating of the ship as if it did not exist. Max can somehow see outside the ship. He sees these orbs orbiting around the ship as they lower it through the atmosphere. The atmosphere should be burning and buffeting the ship, but there seems to be a barrier protecting it. He watches as they slowly lower the ship into a hole in the ground that is perfectly cut in solid stone to match the ship. The landing is so smooth that it's almost as if the ship was never moving. Once again, Max's senses return back to normal. As he returns to his body, he is startled. "What was that?" he says. "That is a little something we can do," said the being once more, appearing before Max. "Your ship has now been settled. The reactor on your ship should run for a few 100 years. You should be good. Not only that, you're connected by a tunnel to a nearby city. From there you have access to countless transportations as your population grows and spreads throughout the planet. You can grow peacefully, and hopefully you'll learn a little something from the builders that made this planet. You see, the builders built this city with robots, and only 2 or 3 of them actually knew about this planet. When the harvesters finally took their home system, those that knew about this place tried to escape and come here, never made it here. It's another culture, lost in the dust." "How do you know all this?" Max asks. "Well, we kind of found their shuttle adrift in space." "What happened?" Max asks. "Well, their ship contained about 2,000 souls or so, and one of them looks like he had a freak-out. All this is according to the logs. He proceeded to damage the ship beyond repair, and they all perished." "A freak-out?" Max says. "Yeah, some people will break easily, where others do not." Yikes, Max thinks as he realizes how fragile his existence in space has been. "For you are reliant on those around you not to snap. Not only that, you must prevent yourself from snapping." For the next few seconds, he is wondering how he made it this far. The being interrupted his thoughts. "In most cases, those who understand psychology select those who are least likely to snap, as they try and select those with an iron mind. However, it is well known that those with an iron mind will snap, given the right amount of force. Those with an iron mind, when they do snap, they snap big time. So imagine the mental force that individual must have been under, realizing that all his relatives, family, friends were being eaten and consumed by the harvesters. Only a few thousand of them had managed to escape, and perhaps the loss was too much for their mind to bear. So in the attempt of suicide, the individual took the whole ship with them." Max's message to home, he clearly stated the urgency of discontinuing the use of the organic drives. The future use will call the harvesters, or something worse, to their planet. Max ends his message with a statement, "I am no longer an atheist." Everyone else sends a message to Earth saying hi and goodbye to their families with a tearful sob. Max finally emerges outside, but to do so he had to walk through tunnels of stone connecting the E-deck. Emerging outside, he finds the air to have a slight cinnamony smell. He looks around and sees green plants and beautiful vegetation. This could be a paradise, yet sometimes a paradise can hold dangers and perils that are unseen by the human eye. The being then speaks to his mind. Yes, paradise can sometimes be a hidden hell, but here is a world built to be perfect, at least as far as the original occupants thought. The food chain is not quite complete, but it has slowly evolved. The biggest creature on this planet is no bigger than 6 inches. As for animal attacks, you don't have to worry much. As for poisonous plants, you got your medical facilities to do tests. We know that most of the plants are fit for human consumption. We also know that a few of the plants contain chemicals that are equivalent as narcotics to humans. However, they are not narcotics to the race that planted them, so do not think ill of those who were your benefactor, I guess. Max gazes upon the landscape. The sunset has taken on colors of blue, orange, and green. While it is an alien sunset in many ways, but it is beautiful nonetheless. Max wonders how long a day is on this planet. "About 42 hours, the being responds before Max could even attempt to ask. 42 hours, Max says. "That's a long day. You guys will get used to it. Max, I've got to be going soon. I wish you luck, and I hope to someday see your people among the stars, for I wait for the day for you to come to us with your own knowledge, your own power, and your own determination." "Wait," Max asks. "What exactly are you guys?" "Max, there are Skith on your planet." "Yes," Max says. "You are fully aware that they evolved from humans, right?" "Yes," Max states. "Well, like the Skith, we too came from humans, but we flipped the other way." "The other way?" Max says. "Max, describe the Skith." "They are immune to disease, they live in filth, they eat rot, and they have very little brains." "What's the opposite of that?" Max thinks for a bit. "A being who lives and clean and isn't immune to disease and has great brains." "Close enough," the being says. "However, we have an immunity to disease from a different angle, for we can control cells within our body with thought. So if a disease invades, our whole body can consciously fight it, whereas the Skith use powerful hormones and rely upon their body to develop the necessary agents. We go about it a little more different route, by the use of thought." "Oh?" Max says. "What planet did you grow up upon?" "Earth." Max is puzzled. But Earth was sacred name that you gave my ancestors. Do you know what we call the planet I'm from? If I understand it correctly, your people call it TomaraDawn. Yes, Max says. TomaraDawn is the name for your planet that I come from. Well, Max, at one time, we called it Earth. Earth? Max says. A puzzled and worried look crosses his face. You mean the sacred name that I've been given means nothing special? Okay, what does child mean in your language? It's not exactly our language, but it's an old language referred to as English. It was once used predominantly all over Earth. The word child means young one. Max felt a sudden sinking feeling growing deep within him as he now knew the true meaning of his last name. TomaraDawn, written by Marlon Lacerte. A book made by a mystic for all. Live with love and hope.